Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Tea with Nikki. Today I'm drinking jasmine green tea, and I'm about to go to Taekwondo in a few minutes, and so I'm rushing to do this video, which is why I'm in a sports bra and you can't see that I have my Taekwondo pants on underneath. Anyway, today I'm going a little free script because it's something that has been on my heart for a long time. I wanted to talk about racial gaslighting. It's kind of a lifelong thing. It's something that I'm becoming more and more aware of as I get older, as I'm in my 20s. Something that's been happening my entire life that I think happens to pretty much all minorities growing up in this country, and I just wanted to shed some light on it for both white people that have no idea that is going on so that they can be cognizant and not feed into it, and also to other minorities, Black, Indigenous, people of color out there that have definitely been experiencing this your whole life, and hopefully this can add some clarity and hopefully like validate your emotions and validate your feelings. So what I mean by racial gaslighting is that, and I'll just use my own life as an example. I grew up with a Black parent, my father. He was ultra conservative, Republican, the kind of listened to Rush Limbaugh and all that shit. Bullshit. And he drummed it into me very, very early on that my Black side was inferior, that was just the way of the world, that is basically, you know, that's just how it is. That's the social structure and you have to deal with it. And even more so, to never make anything about race. Like, never use race as an excuse, never talk about it. Like, if you don't talk about it, then racism doesn't exist. If you do play the race card, then you're being a victim and everything. Then it should just never be a thing. It's never about race. If you are pulling the race card, you're taking the easy way out. And I internalized that very, very early on. Very, very early. And so for a long time, I did not make anything about race. I didn't. I was afraid to pull the race card because it was ingrained into me that if I felt the need to pull a race card, if I witnessed something happening to me that for some reason registered in my mind as racist, then it had nothing to do, it was not a reflection on the person that did it to me. It was a reflection on me and my own weakness, that I was weak, that I would be weak for assuming, or I would be weak for observing that was a racial thing. Even if I was right, like I would be lesser than if I acknowledged that as a racist action and tried to go after it in that way. I internalized that very, very much when I was younger. And like I said, for a long time, I didn't make anything about race. Through high school, through college at the Air Force Academy, through my active duty Air Force years, didn't make anything about race. I didn't really play my race card until 4 years ago when I had my harassment case and my white female boss harassed me and all the other members of color in the unit, particularly the women, particularly the Black women. And it was very, very clear. And if I hadn't had that so ingrained into me all of my life, perhaps I would have reported the bitch sooner. Perhaps I would have stood up for myself sooner and really seen what was going on and called her out. But because I had that ingrained into me so early on, I saw it as weakness if I were going to stand up for myself in that way. If I were going to call out anyone for doing stuff like that in that way. And as a result of it, my life was put in danger. My family's life was put in danger. My entire life was put in jeopardy, and I barely made it out. And now I have PTSD, and now I'm disabled. And I don't know for how long. PTSD, it doesn't have to be permanent, but a lot of people deal with it for pretty much the remainder of their lives. And so that's a cross that I now have to bear. And now that I look back on my entire life, I see so many things, so much of the trauma that has happened to me has been based on race. From when I was very young to now, probably at least half of my life, at least the last 15 years, definitely more. But from what I can observe, definitely the last 15 years, I'm like, a good deal of my trauma happened to me because I am a Black woman on the basis of that. And that's in hindsight. I look at that, I'm like, holy shit, that was racist. When my teacher made me sit in the back of the class for just asking questions, not being disruptive, because she got mad that I challenged Play-Doh or whatever, or something like that, and it turned into a whole thing. And I was the only black person in the class. I'm like, that doesn't feel exactly right. Like when they roomed me with a crazy person at the Air Force Academy, and they asked every other girl if they wanted to room with her except for me. Guess who was the only person of color / black woman in the squadron in my grade? Me. And then roomed her with me, never caring about my opinion, assuming that I was the only one strong enough to handle her. That was race-based. So many things. So many of the things that happened to me were race-based, but because I was gaslit at an early age to never make anything about race and to never pull the race card and to make myself feel bad for things that might be racial happening to me, like internalizing the bad things that other people do and putting it on me. Because of that, there are so many instances where I should have protected myself that I didn't. So many. And now that I'm at a point where, like I said, the trauma has taken a toll on my body physically and mentally, I see it a lot, I see it everywhere. And I'm almost mad, I'm bitter, because I'm like, this was so obvious. It was so obvious, but I was brainwashed into turning a blind eye and being inferior because I played the race card. Well, you know what? Sometimes it is about race, and sometimes the race card is a thing that you gotta slap down. And it's not something that I'm going to apologize for anymore. So much of our life, so much of the way people treat us is so based on race. When people say, don't make everything about race, I'm like, we're not trying to. We can't help that everything is. We can't help that everything is. We can't help that we see visibly how we are treated differently than other people. We cannot, we are not stupid. We see patterns. We are intelligent human beings. But that racial gaslighting can really drum it into you at an early age that you have no right to defend yourself. And it's framed as complaining, and it's framed as weakness when it's not. It's intuition. It's being aware. It's situational awareness. But it can be drummed out of you when you are made to feel guilty for following your instincts and following your gut. And so now that's something that I'm learning to do now at 28 years old, learning to follow my gut and my intuition when things feel wrong, because I spent so much of my life discounting my gut and my intuition because I was made to feel guilty for it. As far as I can tell, I feel like every minority goes through this. Because if you're a minority, you've heard at some point in your life, don't make everything about race. Like, why do you have to make everything about race? While people say the most fucked up shit to you, but you are unable to defend yourself. That's definitely a mechanism of white supremacy. It's definitely meant to keep us doubting ourselves, to keep us down, to keep our self-esteem down here while others are up here. It's used to keep us in line. It's used to keep us in check. And it's something that I am not subscribing to anymore. And it's something that I want people to know about, know that this happens. And it's probably happened to you. There's a 99% chance that this has happened to you. And it's not something that we have to subscribe to anymore. I'm here to tell you, please trust your intuition, trust your gut. Because your intuition and your gut, it senses things before the conscious mind can make sense of it. Please trust it. Your feelings are valid. Your intuition is valid. And I will say that if you are a reasonable person with common sense and critical thinking, if something happens to you and it doesn't quite feel right and it has some racist undertones, you are probably right. If you are a reasonable person. Now, there's some people that are not reasonable and they will pull any card on anything because they are set on nothing being their fault when probably a lot of things going wrong in their life are their fault. But if you are a reasonable person, and your intuition is telling you that an act of racism was just committed against me, an act of bigotry, of prejudice, follow your fucking gut. It's valid. It's definitely something I'm going to start doing that. I have been, and I have decided that in my life I have no room for anybody discounting my feelings and making me feel guilty for speaking up about this stuff and making me feel guilty for, pointing out things that have happened to me I have no room for people that are going to be tired of hearing it. I have no room for people that are going to guilt me into not talking about it. I have no room for people in my life that are going to grow weary of me standing up for myself because for some reason it makes them uncomfortable. Not going to do it. I'm just not. There's no room in my life for that anymore, ever. And I highly suggest that you do the same thing because you owe it to yourself to protect yourself and your emotions and navigate through this life the best that you can. And in order to do that, you have to be able to protect yourself and you have to be able to trust your intuition just like everyone else on this planet. And that includes knowing when somebody is playing you because of the color of your skin. That's part of it. So, fuck racial gaslighting. Fuck that shit. Follow your gut. Follow your intuition. You are valid. Your feelings are valid. And your instincts are valid. So yeah, that's racial gaslighting. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, please like and subscribe to my channel. And please follow me on all my other socials, including Instagram and TikTok, even though TikTok is a racist, bitch-ass, ratchet app that I am definitely working on recovering from, kinda. Whatever. More to come on that on a different video. But yeah, and if you have anything else that you'd like me to talk about, by all means, let me know. I can add it to the roster of the tea. More than happy to talk my shit. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you at the next episode. Bye.